Chapter 11. Falling and Rising. Herman stared at Casimir, trying to process the monstrous figure that towered before him. The once king of Windstorm Island resembled more a creature of shadows and malice than any man. His black iron crown adorned with sinister red gems sat atop his long grey hair like a spider poised to strike. His tattered black cloak billowed behind him, blending with the swirling clouds of darkness that enveloped Casimir's form. Grotesque faces and clawed hands seemed to emerge and disappear within the inky tendrils, as if the shadows themselves were alive and hungry.
Casimir, please.
Herman implored, his voice wavering and filled with empathy.
You don't have to let this darkness control you.
Control me?
Casimir sneered, his eyes narrowing into dangerous slits.
You think I'm a victim of this power?
There must be some part of you left that remembers who you once were.
Herman implored.
Silence, boy!
Casimir roared, cutting off Herman's words. He towered over the young man, his once regal features now twisted into a mask of malice. Any semblance of sanity was gone.
You cannot possibly comprehend what I've been through, who I was, who I've now become. You're just like your father, feigning concern and putting your nose where it doesn't belong. Very well, I shall tell you how I became what I am.
As the airship continued its precarious descent toward the ground, Casimir recounted his tragic tale.
10 years ago, during Windstorm Island's Harvest Festival, my beloved wife, Queen Althea, died. My heart ached and rage festered as I saw my people carry on with their celebrations without a care for my loss. In my anguish, grief consuming me, I turned to the dark arts in attempt to resurrect my queen. But my own people, fearful of my growing power and unstable state, banded together and banished me from the island. I ended up on Memoria.
Casimir continued, his voice cold and dripping with contempt.
Here, I discovered an even darker magic, one that bends to my will. Now, I am the most powerful warlock this world has ever known.
Herman's thoughts drifted briefly to his own father, who had vanished years earlier, and he felt a pang of sympathy for Casimir's loss.
I'm sorry for what happened to you, Casimir. I truly am.
He said, his voice tinged with sadness.
I understand what it's like to lose someone you love, but you can still choose a different path.
You understand nothing!
Casimir roared, brandishing his dark sword that appeared as if forged from the very essence of malice. The blade was twisted and ominous, a blood-red gem embedded in its hilt, glinting like an evil eye. With a snarl, Casimir lunged at Herman with a series of vicious swipes. Fueled by desperation, Herman managed to parry each attack with the magical blade of innocence. The weapons clashed with a symphony of metallic shrieks, echoing throughout the plummeting airship.
Your pathetic attempts to save me are futile.
Casimir growled, frustration seeping into his voice as his attacks failed to land a devastating blow on Herman.
Give up and let the darkness consume you.
Never!
With a sudden surge of strength, Herman parried one of Casimir's vicious strikes with a force that the warlock stumbled back across the deck, granting him a momentary respite. In that fleeting moment, the young hero quickly adjusted some valves and steered the helm to regain some control over the airship.
Herman.
Bilbert gasped, holding a blood-stained hand against his wound.
Pass me blood. Quickly.
His voice was frail, but there was an urgency behind it that couldn't be ignored. Herman hesitated for a moment, uncertain why Bilbert would need the small dragon marionette. Time was running out. Herman tossed blood to Bilbert, its golden body gleaming like a falling star against the backdrop of chaos.
Why do you need him?
Before Bilbert could answer, Casimir lunged at Herman once more. Instinctively, Herman raised the blade of innocence to block the attack just in time.
You will fall before my power.
Casimir snarled. Herman struggled to hold his ground against the relentless onslaught of the Warlock King. He wondered what Bilbert had planned with blood. The thought of a puppet dragon seemed comically out of place amidst the life-or-death struggle. Bill Baird's fingers trembled as he deftly placed a hexagon-shaped blue gem on Blarg's golden forehead. The air around them crackled with an unseen energy. The dragon puppet began to stir. Its once inanimate limbs twitched and flexed. Its wings flapped gently, and its bright blue eyes glowed with an inner light. Herman stared in astonishment as the marionette he had carried since childhood became so much more. The warlock's dark sword faltered mid-swing, his own gaze fixed upon the transformation unfolding before him.
Impossible!
He spat, his cold eyes widening in surprise as Blarg's bright blue eyes flickered to life.
How? I eradicated every last one of those accursed light dragons.
Seems you missed one.
Bill Baird replied weakly but smugly, a gleam in his eyes that mirrored the awakened dragon's own radiance. Blarg, now fully alive and aware, turned its attention toward the Warlock King. The small dragon's nostrils flared, and he opened his mouth and let loose a torrent of blinding light. The force of the attack struck Casimir with the intensity of 1,000 suns. At that same moment, the airship's engine hiccuped, making the vessel buck like a bronco. Casimir lost his footing, blinded and disoriented. He staggered awkwardly, a dance move completely unbefitting a tyrant. The Warlock King stumbled right into the blade of innocence, which Herman still held defensively. The magical sword pierced through Casimir's armor as if it was made of butter, finding the wicked heart beneath.
Curse you, grandson!
The Warlock King howled, stumbling backward. Casimir lost his footing and toppled over the edge of the airship, plummeting toward his dark castle below, his black iron crown abandoning the Warlock in a final display of defeat.
Did he call me grandson?
Herman wondered as he watched the fallen king disappear into the inky depths. For all his evil deeds, Casimir had once been a grieving husband who had succumbed to darkness in his search for solace. But was he also Herman's grandfather? Was this some kind of lust-cruel joke? Herman cast the thought from his mind and turned his attention to Lefwen and Gifford, who stood frozen as stone statues in mid-attack. He hurried to their side, uncorking the small vial of living water. Like liquid silver, it shimmered in the dim light as he poured it onto Lefwen and Gifford's petrified forms.
Please, Lord, let this work.
He prayed. Miraculously, their grey skin turned back to its normal hue. Lefwen stirred first, her long autumn hair framing her fluttering eyes and freckled face like a halo. Gifford's plump fingers twitched, and soon he and Lefwen were blinking up at Herman in confusion. He pulled Lefwen into a tight embrace, a warmth bomb against the cold of Casimir's lingering presence.
Thank the Lord you're all right.
Herman whispered into her hair.
What happened?
She asked, her voice weak but filled with curiosity.
Casimir, he's gone.
Herman said, helping her to her feet. Their eyes met for a brief moment. The airship's sudden lurch reminded them of the inattentiveness to the ship's controls and imminent danger. Releasing Lefwen, Herman turned his attention to their spiraling vessel. Casimir's dark castle loomed ever closer, its twisted towers casting eerie shadows on the ground far below.
Gifford, come on!
Lefwen called, her voice filled with urgency. With life now surging through their veins, they wrestled with the wheel and other controls, muscles straining as they steered the vessel around one of the sinister towers. The airship groaned in protest, but gradually leveled off to its regular altitude, narrowly avoiding disaster.
Phew, that was close.
Gifford gasped in relief. Their moment of triumph was interrupted by the sound of beating wings. Blarg, now a living creature, soared through the air, his golden scales glinting like freshly minted coins. The tiny dragon landed gracefully on the deck beside the fallen glitterfleck. Lefwen and Gifford stared in amazement, their jaws dropping like unhinged gates.
Your puppet is alive?
Gifford stammered in disbelief as palpable as the airship's trembling frame. Herman smiled, his heart swaying with love for the little light dragon.
Yes. I don't know how exactly, for now. Let's just be grateful for our small miracles.
Blarg gently nudged the injured Glitterfleck, and then opened his mouth to release a soft, healing light that enveloped her delicate form. Moments later, the tiny fairy stirred, fluttered her wings, and took to the air once more, her strength visibly restored.
Thank you, Blarg.
She whispered before turning to Herman.
Glitterfleck, I'm glad you're alive.
Herman said, wanting to give the tiny fairy a hug, but afraid he might break her.
Where did you go?
I tried to find you. I bring important news. Your father is alive.
Father? Alive?
Herman breathed, his mind racing with 1,000 questions. His heart skipped a beat. Beside him, Gifford's face was a mirror of shock and disbelief.
There is something more. Your father is one of the cursed Lycanthians.
Glitterfleck added.
But the Lycanthians are those little people that turn into werewolves.
Gifford spoke with raw emotion.
Your father is not a true Lycanthian, yet he is victim to the same curse.
Glitterfleck replied, before the two brothers could fully understand the revelation. Bilbeard managed to stand, wincing in pain.
Just a flesh wound.
He insisted, though his pale complexion told a different story. Grateful for Bilbeard's help, Blarg engulfed him in a torrent of healing light, easing some of his suffering. Bilbeard pulled himself up, his voice hoarse but insistent.
Thank you, little friend.
He turned his attention to Herman and Gifford.
Boys, I knew your father. Diggory and I went on expeditions together. We were looking for your mother.
Our mother?
Herman spoke softly.
Our mother left us.
Gifford said,
She wanted nothing to do with us. She left us to fend for ourselves while Dad was off adventure.
She left to protect you.
Bilbeard defended.
Long before she met your father, she realized the evil man her own father, the king, was becoming. She ran away from him. She ran away from royalty, her lineage, and any claim to the throne. She disguised herself as a peasant, took on a new identity, and started a new life with your father.
So Casimir was our grandfather?
Herman asked, but already knew the answer.
Wait, you mean to tell me we're related to Mr. Crazy Pants?
Gifford interjected.
I'm afraid so.
Bilbeard answered.
Shortly after you two were born, your mother suspected that Casimir knew her whereabouts. She left for your safety.
Herman and Gifford were dumbfounded by this new revelation.
Your father and I searched the world over for her, but to no avail. Diggory was a good man, a talented artist, resourceful, kind, a true friend.
Bilbeard coughed painfully.
I wish the same could be said of me.
Sensing the remorse in the mysterious puppet vendor's words, Herman placed a comforting hand on Bilbeard's shoulder.
You don't know me.
Bilbeard wheezed, pushing Herman's hand aside and diverting his eyes to meet the distant portal in the sky.
There may still be time to rescue your father before the portal closes. But then again, you may have to make a choice between saving him or the rest of the people of Windstorm Island.
As Herman digested Bilbeard's words, a storm of emotion swelled within him, buoyed by faith and driven by the desire to reunite with his long-lost father. He would find him and bring him home, no matter what.
I will save you. We must go back to the Lycanthian camp.
He is not at the camp.
Bilbeard rasped.
He is a prisoner in Casimir's castle. I left him in that forsaken dungeon to save my own skin.
The puppet vendor's voice cracked, weighed down by guilt.
He is correct.
Glitterfleck said.
Though Casimir has been defeated, there is still a small army of incorporeals guarding the castle.
Wait, what are incorporeals?
Gifford asked, his eyes wide. Bilbeard, leaning against the railing for support, interjected.
Incorporeals are creatures made of shadows and skeletal parts.
Behind his words held an experience of terror.
Maybe with Casimir gone, these creatures are too.
Leffen suggested optimistically.
We can hope.
Bilbeard responded, as the airship sailed through the darkening sky, its crew united by their shared purpose. the vessel circled back and descended on the outskirts of Casimir's dark castle near jagged rocks and twisted trees. They would find Mr. Plainly, no matter what it took, and they would do it together. The airship touched down with a thud, its windmill settling on the cold, unforgiving earth near the castle. The engine gave a final shudder before falling silent. Herman took a moment to survey the surroundings, his grey eyes narrowing against the oppressive darkness that enveloped Casimir's fortress. The imposing structure loomed over them like a menacing shadow, its spire towers reaching towards the heavens, attempting to claw at the very fabric of the sky. The group exchanged nervous glances as they prepared to face the unknown. Slowly and cautiously, they stepped off the airship and approached the castle gate. The shadows around them seemed to deepen, an oppressive darkness that weighed heavily on their spirits. Herman noticed something glinting on a nearby outcropping of jagged rocks. He picked it up.
What is it?
Gifford asked.
It's Casimir's crown.
Herman replied.
But where's Casimir?
Without warning, several incorporeals materialize out of the shadows, surrounding the group and brandishing otherworldly swords. Their skeletal bodies seemed to flicker in and out of existence.
Look out!
Herman shouted, drawing the blade of innocence and striking at the nearest incorporeal. The creature recoiled from the enchanted weapon, its form dissipating into nothingness. Blarg let loose a blinding light from his mouth that illuminated the battleground. Incorporeals hissed from the brightness of the light dragon's assault, their shadowy forms flickering like dying embers.
Keep fighting!
Leffler's cried, her voice carrying over the howling wind and clashing steel.
Let's do this together!
She raised her flute and charged into the fray, twirling the weapon with surprising agility. Though her attacks were less effective than those of her companions, she still managed to hold her own against the dark creatures. With renewed vigor, Herman, Blarg, and Leffrin fought their way through the shadowy army, inching ever closer to the dark castle's entrance until the initial wave of incorporeals were dispatched. Gifford and Bilbert hurried to arm themselves with the fallen creatures' weapons, preparing to aid their friends in the ongoing battle.
Stay close.
Herman instructed. He scanned the dark castle for any sign of further threat. Blarg perched protectively on his shoulder, bright blue gaze vigilant.
Keep your wits about you.
Bilbert bore, his mysterious eyes alert as he brandished his newly acquired weapon.
We don't know how many more incorporeals we'll encounter.
The air was thick with tension, and the silence was broken by the screeching of the remaining incorporeals as they fought against the combined forces of Herman, Blarg, Leffrin, Gifford, and Bilbert. Their eerie cries sounded like nails on a chalkboard, sending shivers down the spines of all who heard them.
Stay strong.
Shouted Herman as he slashed through another incorporeal with a blade of innocence.
We're almost there.
Following the battle, Glitterfleck fluttered up to Herman and motioned for the group to follow her. Her tiny wings stirred the air, casting a soft glow on the stone corridor leading to the dungeon. As they descended deeper into the castle, the air grew cold and damp.
Follow me!
Glitterfleck urged, leading the way through the eerie corridors until they reached an iron-barred door.
Stand back.
Herman said, raising the blade of innocence and striking the lock with a resounding clang, a shower of sparks, breaking it open. The door creaked loudly as they pushed it aside, revealing a dimly lit chamber within.
Father!
Herman cried, his eyes filling with tears as he beheld the man they had been searching for. His father looked older, but unmistakably familiar, brown hair streaked with silver, grey eyes that seemed to hold a world of wisdom that mirrored Herman's own. And around his neck, resting against the warm fabric of his tunic, a necklace with a crimson gem embedded in it, glinting ominously in the flickering torchlight. Gifford's eyes widened in disbelief.
Dad, is it really you?
Boys, my boys,
Their father whispered, his voice hoarse from disuse.
come here, my boys.
Their father beckoned, embracing them tightly. The years apart melted away in the warmth of their reunion, joy and relief coursing through their veins like a healing balm.
Time is of the essence!
Glitterfleck warned urgently.
The portal back to Windstorm Island will be closing soon.
She pointed through a barred window toward the darkening sky, where a swirling mass of clouds and light shimmered like an otherworldly beacon.
You must hurry or the people of your land will perish into dust.
As they followed the tiny fairy through the winding corridors and out of Casimir's castle, Herman glanced upward at the darkening sky. There, amidst swirling violet clouds, a shimmering portal swirled like the eye of a great storm, the Stratos vortex that would take them home.
Wait.
Herman's father exclaimed suddenly, his face wrought with concern.
I cannot leave this place. Night will be upon us in mere hours, and when it falls, I will become a werewolf.
His voice trembled with fear as he clutched at the crimson gem necklace around his neck.
I'm sorry. I cannot leave with you. My home is here now. I must return to the pack.
No, we are your family.
Herman's voice rang out. His eyes fell upon his father's, but then drifted down to his necklace, which seemed to glow in the approaching moonlight.
Wait, it's the necklace. It must be what's keeping you here. The necklace turns you into a werewolf.
He approached his father cautiously, reaching for the gem that glinted ominously around his neck. As his fingers brushed against the necklace, his father recoiled and batted Herman's hand away with unexpected ferocity. His face contorted into a snarl as he clutched the jewelry tightly.
Stay away!
Herman's father barked, his voice tinged with anger and something more primal, resonating deep within his chest. Lefwin gripped her oak flute, ready to defend herself and her friends if necessary. Gifford stared with wide-eyed disbelief.
Blark, we need your help.
Herman called out. Like a golden comet, the small dragon puppet soared with a determined glint in his blue eyes. Blark opened his mouth, releasing a brilliant beam of light. As Mr. Plainly winced under the intensity of the light, Herman quickly seized the opportunity. He deftly removed the cursed necklace. His father's expression softened instantly, the dark influence fading away. Herman placed the jewelry on a nearby rock. With a determined swing, Herman brought the blade of innocence down upon the necklace, shattering it into 1,000 shimmering pieces. As the glow from Blarg's mouth faded, Herman's father shook his head to clear the lingering confusion. His eyes, now free of the sinister influence of the necklace, brimmed with relief and gratitude.
Thank you.
Whispered Mr. Plainly, embracing his son once more.
Come on, everyone. We need to leave before the Stratos vortex closes.
Urged Glitterfleck, her wings fluttering impatiently and gesturing toward the waiting airship, with the shattered remains of the cursed necklace behind them. Herman and Gifford helped their father onto the airship. Tension between Bill Baird and Mr. Plainly hung in the air like an unspoken secret, their gazes locked in a silent battle of wills.
Diggory, please forgive me.
Bill Baird pleaded. Mr. Plainly's eyes were riddled with unresolved emotions.
I forgive you, old friend.
He finally spoke, breaking the invisible barrier between them.
You did what you had to, but in the end, you came through.
Herman turned his attention to the ship's controls, his slender fingers dancing over the levers and gears. As the steady hum of the engine came to life, Glitterfleck flitted before him, her voice tinged with urgency.
Blarg and I will remain here in our world.
She announced softly, her glow dimming with sadness.
Our people need us.
Bill Baird nodded solemnly, his eyes still fixed on Mr. Plainly.
I shall stay as well.
He murmured, his voice heavy with the weight of unspoken regrets.
There are things I must make amends for. I intend to journey to the Desert Empire to rescue the remaining light dragons from the clutches of the lizard men.
Blarg and I will be by your side.
Glitterfleck offered to Bill Baird. Herman swallowed hard, understanding that time was of the essence and that he had his own mission to fulfill. He looked around at his friends and family, their faces etched with a mixture of sadness and determination. Herman felt a pang of loss, knowing that their newfound friends would remain behind. But he trusted in the Lord's plan for them all.
Safe journey, my friends.
Herman said, his voice cracking with emotion.
And may the light dragons be free from their captivity.
Take care of each other.
Lefwin added,
We'll never forget the adventures we've shared. Nor will we.
Glitterfleck whispered, her melodic voice barely audible over the whirring of the airship's propellers. Larg nodded solemnly, his blue eyes shimmering like twin stars. With that, they all bid farewell.
Goodbye.
The airship's
We'll miss
engine
you.
roared to life as it took to the sky, soaring higher and closer to the swirling stratus vortex above. The portal shimmered like a tapestry woven from starlight and dreams, beckoning them homeward. As the vessel pierced through the portal, it closed behind them like a curtain drawn on a fantastic play. The final act had been completed, and their adventure had reached its bittersweet end. Though their hearts filled with hope and gratitude, they knew that they still needed to restore the people of Windstorm Island before it was too late.